Hey, welcome to another episode of Fire. My name is Cynthia and I am your host. So today I just wanted to share my property investment journey, my story, how I started, where I am and where I am hoping to get to. My journey started 5 years ago when I was pregnant with my first child and I was just minding my business, scrolling through on Instagram. So I was scrolling through on Facebook, just, looking at some aunties and uncles and their family and what's going on. And all of a sudden, an ad popped up in front of me talking about how you can actually buy property with as little as £1 and how you can invest in property without having any money. And that really, struck me because at the time I was working as a healthcare assistant for the NHS and I was barely making like 25k a year. And we all know, once you get paid at the end of the month, the next day, the money is gone and then you've got to wait another 30 days for your next payment. So that was sort of how I was living paycheck to paycheck. So that struck me because I was about to have a baby. I didn't want to just live paycheck to paycheck. I wanted to be able to, give my child or my kids, the best. I didn't want money to ever be a reason why I couldn't do something for my kids. So I just thought, you know what, this sounds too good to be true. Buying property for £1, investing in property with no money, because I always thought to invest in property you need to be a rich middle-aged man, with a big bank account, right? And I just never even thought it was possible to invest in property with little or no money. And I had always wanted to invest in property, but I just thought this is something I would do much later in life when I've had a successful career and I've saved up some money. However, this guy was promising that I could do all of this now. So I got intrigued and I obviously signed up for the ad and they were advertising a free seminar. So I signed up for the seminar, went down for the seminar with my husband. And my husband and I, we are the most skeptical people you would meet, especially when it comes to investments and stuff, right? We just don't put our money anywhere unless there's valid reasons to invest. Okay, so we ended up going for this seminar. It was a one-day seminar and, this guy filled our heads with possibilities of, a world of property investment and, how I could actually get started right now without even having any money in my account. So eventually he sold the course to me and I signed up for his course. And that was the best investment that I have made so far. I mean, at the time, I already had a graduate degree where I paid $9,000 every year, for 3 years, plus all the expenses associated with going to uni. So obviously I had all of that spent or invested in myself, and yet it wasn't doing anything. However, I paid for this course. It was a 3-day course. I attended the course and it changed my life. So while I was at the course, this guy was talking about how, you can invest in property, sharing all the strategies with us, sharing the exact system that he's used to invest in property. And I thought, wow, I am going to be successful at this. I remember I was sitting right in front of him, table 2. So right in front of him, and I was so pregnant. I think I was about 31 weeks pregnant. So I was just taking notes, getting everything down. And as he was talking or teaching, I'm implementing what I was learning. I wasn't waiting till I get home or till the next day or whenever I have free time. As he was talking during the break, I would implement as much as I've learned that day. So he taught us about a strategy called rent to rent, which I had never heard before. So he taught us about that strategy where you can basically rent other people's properties and rent it out again as a serviced accommodation or HMO or supported living or whatever it is that you want to rent it out again as. So that particularly caught my eye because it sounded like something that I could do right now. So I remember during my training, my trainer's best success story was a couple who secured their first rent-to-rent deal 28 days after the training, right? And they say on average it takes 3 to 6 months to secure your very first rent-to-rent deal, right? So I did the training and I remember the training finished on a Sunday. And by Monday, I was up at 8:45 a.m. I made a list of all the estate agents I had to call and all the properties I had to inquire about. And as soon as it was 9 o'clock, I just started making calls. I think I must have made 50 calls that morning. And I was able to secure a viewing that week. And by Friday, just 5 days after the the training, I was able to sign my first rent-to-rent deal. So I got my first deal in 5 days after the training. So I became my trainer's biggest success story or best success story at the time, especially because I was also 31 weeks pregnant, right? So he would, whenever he has his trainings or seminars, he would say, hey, look at Cynthia. She did it in 5 days and she was 31 weeks pregnant. And if she can do it, what is stopping you? So that every time he would have his training, I would get a lot of people come to me. So anyways, that property that I secured in 5 days, within 30 days of securing that property, I made £1,000 pre-tax profit, right? So, and I was completely blown away because at the time, I think my salary, I was earning about 1,300 or 1,400, but this was like more than half of my salary at the time in 1 month from just putting in minimal efforts. So I just thought, okay, cool. And I was pregnant at the time, as I said. Eventually, I had to have my baby. I took about 3 or 4 months off, had my baby, and that property was just constantly making me £1,000 every single month. And that was a 6-bed HMO property in London, right? So after that property, I took about 3 or 4 months break, had my baby, and I came back and I started looking for more properties, and I acquired a few more properties, and eventually went from HMO to Airbnb. So I got into Airbnb because I acquired a unit with 8 studio apartments. And I just thought to myself, what am I going to do with 8 studio apartments? And while I was waiting to rent them out to tenants, I had to think of ways to make money sooner. Not just in 30 days. I wanted to make the money right now because the rent was, like the month was creeping up and I had to pay the next month's rent. So I decided to list 2 of those properties on Airbnb. And within 48 hours of listing those 2 studios on Airbnb, I was able to secure bookings worth over £2,000 within just 48 hours. Throughout the month, people had already booked those 2 studios and the value of the bookings were about £2,000. So I was completely blown away because at first I was thinking, how am I going to make rent for the next month? Because I've just invested a lot of money in acquiring these studios, and now we're 2 weeks into the month and I haven't had any tenants. No one has moved in yet. So I ended up renting out those 2 studios, as I said. And then when I saw how much success these 2 studios were having on Airbnb, I decided to list 2 more studios. So we had 4 studios listed on Airbnb that first month, and we were able to make more than enough money to pay the rent that month. And I just thought, okay, cool. Airbnb could actually be a strategy that I have to consider. And that was really how my Airbnb journey started. I went from having 1-2 studios on Airbnb to now having over 10 units on Airbnb. I went from making about £2,000-3,000 on Airbnb a month to now making over £20,000 a month on Airbnb from just a handful of properties. And the craziest part of it all is that I don't own any of these properties, right? So in my first year in business, I went from 0 to over 120k revenue in the first 12 months of my business being active, which was insane because the year before I was just earning a 25k a year, salary. And to be able to just 5 times that in just 12 months was insane. And again, the craziest part of it all is that I didn't have to buy any property. I didn't own any of the properties. At the time, actually, I didn't even own the property that I was living in. I was just renting because I didn't have enough money to buy, right? So doing that course, starting my property business, getting into the rent-to-rent strategy, all of that has changed my life. So I have gone from not owning property to now having like several properties that I actually own, and also, buying properties cash on auction and just doing them up. It's just been an amazing growth over the past 5 years. And I just want to I'm sharing my story because I think it is possible for anyone once you set your mind to it, if you're ready to put in the hard work. Because some people that I trained with, some people that attended the same training, they were sat on the same table as I was. Some of them didn't get as much success that I did. Some of them didn't even do anything with the training. They just carried on with, what they were doing before or whatever else. However, if you're dedicated and determined to do what it takes, whatever it is you have to put in to make it a success, you can be successful at property investment. And it is a great way to create generational wealth and also financial security and financial liberation. I have gone from living paycheck to paycheck, just constantly having to wait to get paid to do anything meaningful with my life, to now having a business where I don't need to live paycheck to paycheck. Every day is payday for me, basically. And I'm able to give my family the quality of life that I always wanted, and also live the quality of life that I always wanted. And this is possible for anyone and everyone, only if you believe and if you are willing to put in the work. Just seeing how much property investment has changed my life, I have been dedicated to helping others achieve as much success, if not better, from property investment. And my goal really is to help as many women get into property investment. And this is why I offer coaching and mentoring programs to help you not just get into property investment, but to create a high cash flowing and super successful property business. And of course, I will be sharing more about my story, my journey on this podcast, but not just my stories and my journey, but other successful property investors as well. And we can always just learn and grow from them as well. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you all for watching. Please like and comment. Tell me, if you've got any questions or if there's anything you need my help with particularly, just drop it down in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to help. Also, don't forget to subscribe and I will see you all in my next video. Thank you. Bye.